Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first Business Keeps on Dancing webinar. Can I just check if everyone can hear me and can see me? If you're tuning in, it'd be great if you could leave a comment in the chat room. Great. Oh, wow, we've got loads of people. Cool. So I'll be keeping an eye on the chat as we go through. So it'd be great to leave your thoughts and any builds that you've got as we go through. I'll keep an eye on any questions that might be relevant for our panelists today. But yeah, without further ado, we can get started. So for those of you who haven't joined us before, Business Keeps on Dancing is an initiative that brings together industry experts and thought leaders to talk about how to build pioneering and successful brands. So as we all know at the moment, social life is changing and more people are online than ever before. And today we've invited a panel of industry experts to discuss how to adapt to this new landscape, how to keep your audience engaged and your business dancing. So one thing that we've noticed in recent weeks is that building relationships with your community seems to be more important than ever right now for your brand to thrive and survive. So there's a certain C word that we won't be mentioning today, and instead we want to focus on more of a proactive and positive approach to new challenges ahead to keep your brand moving forward. So please give a warm welcome today to our panelists. We've got Joshua Burke, who's the co-founder and CEO at Bongos Bingo. We've got Jordan HALLPIKE, who's the Director of Talent and Programming at IBIZA Rocks. And then we've also got Sophie Ellis, who is the Strategic Partner Manager at Facebook. So thanks for joining us today. And just to start off, we know that operations for many events, many brands across the world have been forced to change in recent weeks. But today we want to discuss and hear from our panelists about how they think brands can navigate through this and what their own experience has been to keep their audience engaged. So we're going to break it down into 3 different sections. The first one, we want to find out how brands have initially adapted to this landscape in the past few weeks, because it's a new world that we're all in. Everyone's online, most people are working remotely, and it's a new way that we need to find how to communicate with our audience and our customers. So we want to find out in the short term and in the past few weeks how people have really adapted to that. Secondly, we'll be discussing pivoting your strategy. So the idea behind this is that hopefully if this does all blow over and business goes back to normal service at some point, you need to have an engaged audience with you who are ready to purchase when business comes back around. So we want to talk about how to pivot your strategy in the next few months to really still connect with people and your audience, even if you can't deliver your normal operations. How can you still be a part of their life in some way so that they still feel connected to your brand? And then finally, we want to talk about our key takeaways and learning. So this is quite a broad section, and we're going to be thinking of any takeaways that we've all found from the past few weeks. I know everyone's had different challenges and different scenarios and different things to think about, but I think we will have all learned quite a lot in the past few weeks. So we'll have a chat about that. And then finally, we've got a Q&A from our audience. So thank you so much to everyone who signed up so far. It's been such a good response, and it's so glad that you've all joined us today. So we've picked out a few questions that everyone has submitted, and we're going to ask them to our panel later on. So let's get started on our first section. So adapting to the new landscape. So what I'd like to hear from our panelists is how you've adapted to recent change to this landscape and how your brand has reacted. So we're going to start off with Josh from Bongos Bingo. So Bongos Bingo takes place in 50 locations across the world, and it's the heartbeat in a lot of cities for this big crazy party. The ethos is definitely all around the crazy experience wherever those parties do take place. But as we all know, there has been a ban on mass gatherings, and that's resulted in a lot of events across the UK and the world being postponed. However, you've brought a lot of joy to living rooms across the country with your bingo live streams recently, including mine. I've been tuning in, it's been great. So how did the idea to stream live bingo come about?
To be honest, it's something that we've been thinking about for quite a few years. Obviously, we couldn't really figure out the best path, to be honest, because what we were trying to do is is make sure that we weren't interfering with the live shows. So if someone called bingo online, but other people were at the show, then it kind of messes it all up a little bit, and we thought they might feel a bit cheated and stuff. So we couldn't figure out an exact route, to be honest. But then obviously this situation came about and kind of forced the issue, really. Johnny is obviously used to doing quite a lot of shows, as are Rich and Jim and the tech team and everyone in the company. So they were all really keen to do something because they're used to, and they got really bored quite quickly. So yeah, they just wanted to have a go of it, really. But I think we also wanted to do something that we thought might help the situation as well. So, you know, we wanted to raise some cash for the NHS. So I think we've raised quite a few £1,000s now. And yeah, we did one test stream to our friends, family, and the rest of the team, and they all loved it. So after about half an hour, they just went live, and that was it, really.
Oh, wicked. It's had such a great reaction online. I've had, I think every family member and everyone I've spoke to has actually tuned in. So how far have the streams reached it, and what's the feedback been like so far?
Well, the guys have done an amazing job, obviously. Across several streams, I think we've reached well over 1 million people now. I think, as I say, we've raised tens of thousands of pounds for the NHS charities and stuff. And the audience reaction's been far better than we anticipated, really. One of the things that we're trying to put across to the guys was that hopefully people will know that this isn't an exact replica of our show. But, you know, they will be able to do a little bit more with it, you know, perhaps more audience participation, more video, things like that. And then Lad Bible got in touch after like doing 2 shows or something. And on one stream, I think we ended up getting about 1.3 million viewers. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's a bit weird, but it feels a bit like a kind of public service thing at the moment. It's a way of us obviously engaging with our customers, but the feedback we're getting, and certainly the kind of mission, particularly from Johnny, is that, you know, this is not about money necessarily. It's more about like seeing what we can do to help, and also bring a bit of, you know, distraction, I guess, for our customers. And that's the kind of feedback we've been getting, to be honest. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, we've been getting about 9,000 to 15,000 people per show giving us really quite good feedback, but and that, you know, they're saying that it means an awful lot to them. So it's been really heartwarming, to be honest. It's been really, really positive generally.
That's amazing. And have you found that from the live streams you've actually opened Bongos Bingo as a brand up to new audiences and new fans that maybe haven't been able to attend events in the past but can tune in from home?
Yeah, well, I mean, we are in an awful lot of places around the UK now, even places that, you know, perhaps wouldn't normally get events like this, like Rochester, Epsom. I don't really know where they are, but yeah, we're kind of all over the place. So a lot of people are kind of exposed to the normal shows now, but we are also seeing that there are a lot more people that kind of engage with the brand. Obviously, it's not necessarily a true representation of what we normally do, but we are seeing a lot more followers than we would normally get, up to about 100% increase per day in terms of what we would normally get. So I think we got like 4,000 people in a day after we're doing our first kind of big live stream. It is a little bit tricky though for us, because I guess similar to a lot of other brands, we don't like being completely explicit about what we kind of do, because that enables, kind of galvanizes our audience a little bit to kind of take that onus on themselves and to kind of go out and spread the gospel for us, really. So explaining exactly what we do using social media and stuff is something that we've tended to steer away from a little bit. We'll just give a little glimpse, really. But now, obviously, although this isn't a true representation of the show, it's giving everything away in a way, really. So yeah, using our biggest marketing tool, which is our audience and their word of mouth, is yeah, it's just completely different way of doing things. And to be honest, it's still quite early days as to whether these people are new or or if they're existing fans or not. We've getting a lot of feedback saying that, you know, they'd never heard of Bongos Bingo before, but, you know, they can't wait to go to a show, but we don't know how it's affected our audience at the moment. I think we're 7 streams in or something, so that should become clear soon.
And did you face any challenges with getting the streams up so soon? Because you were quite quick to react to the recent changes. And did you find any learnings since you ran the first one?
Yeah, I mean, some of us were quite prepared. Like, as I say, we've been thinking about this for a few years. Johnny was quite adamant that it probably wouldn't work, and then the situation kind of forced his hand a little bit. So for him, he thought everything up on the spot from that side of things, whereas myself and the tech team could kind of see this coming, really. So it was very, very quick for Johnny, but for the rest of us, yeah, we kind of got a lot of the tech side of things together and stuff like that. But we're kind of seeing it as a constant learning curve, to be honest. Obviously, there are certain tech issues sometimes, like we'll play a video that's got no audio and that kind of thing. But because of the nature of our existing shows and stuff like that, the hosts in particular are quite used to dealing with those situations, and they just make a joke out of it. So yeah, it just shows that they're really quite experienced in this, really. Although it's a different format or a different medium of getting our show out, it's something they're really used to. I think it just adds to what we're doing, to be honest. I think it's quite funny.
I should say, I think learning curve is the best way to
summarize. Exactly.
I think we're all kind of learning as on the job as we go with the current scenario. But did you find any other ways that you had to change your marketing or your operations, or how else have you had to adapt how you're set up at the moment?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, unfortunately, like a lot of people in our industry, we had to postpone a lot of our shows until we don't know when. So that's not a very nice message to be putting out. It's a really difficult thing for us to do, really, because I think we had about 150,000 tickets sold until like the end of April or something like that. So it was a significant amount of shows we had to push back, and so that was a really shitty message we had to put out, to be honest. Obviously, we got a few people threatening us with lawyers over the sake of a £20 ticket and stuff like that. So it was quite stressful, but it did give us something to talk about by doing this stream. We were trying to do something positive, obviously, particularly with the donation side of things to the NHS, as well as doing, you know, activating our team to do NHS taxis and those kind of things. So it gave us something else to talk about that was a bit more positive, I guess, as opposed to just, you know, we're postponing your show and hopefully you can come back towards the end of the year. So yeah, obviously everyone in our team is used to doing shows, being on the road or on stage and stuff like that. So they're all desperate to get back to normal life. So this is our little bit of, I guess, normality, really. We couldn't just do nothing because we'd all go a bit stir crazy. So, and one other thing that we are starting to do is perhaps using a bit more customer footage and a bit more audience interaction and stuff. So kind of as our way of reminding people what it was like to go to a show and be with your mates and have a drink and dance and socialize. Because I think it's something that we all obviously took for granted now. And we just want to also perhaps remind our customers exactly what our show is. Obviously, the live stream is amazing, but it's not a true representation of, you know, what we normally do. And so we want to kind of remind people of that, and also just show a bit of appreciation for how lucky we were to be able to go out and have fun, I guess.
Yeah, I think positive sentiment around Bongos Bingo is one big takeaway from everything you've been doing. I think everything online seems really positive. So really good job on that. Thank you, Josh. We're going to go over to Jordan from IBIZA Rock. So I'm sure many people will know that Ibiza Rocks is one of Ibiza's most iconic brands, and it really firmly established themselves as the home of pool parties in Ibiza. From my own experience, there's no feeling quite like the buzz when you land on the island, you step outside the airport, and you're in Ibiza. However, the recent lockdown has dominated our social feeds with quite a lot of worry and fear. However, one thing that Ibiza Rocks has been doing really well is really keeping that Ibiza spirit alive online. So you've had the rave from home streams, you've had social distancing kitchen raves, you've had Ibiza Rocks rewind streams featuring a lot of iconic sets from down the years. So Jordan, can you tell us a bit more about the response you've had so far to the streams, and how the content strategy for Ibiza Rocks was adapted to keep your audience engaged?
Yeah, sure. I guess firstly, I just wanted to say big up to Josh, because the Bongos Bingo streams have been really fun. We've all been playing them, and just like Josh was saying, in terms of some of his team being ready for this and some of them not being ready for it, we were certainly not ready. Like, we had no kind of like aspirations of doing live streams or streaming our old content until this moment. So for anybody that's out there that is kind of unsure on what to do right now, we didn't know what we were doing last week, and we're kind of just like figuring it out as we go. But like you said, Ibiza is very much a very positive feeling that people get around Ibiza and being with their friends and coming to Ibiza Rocks. And we've always had a really strong following of people that are just kind of like fanatical about that experience. So we wanted to make sure that we could still communicate with our audience through this period, and not kind of putting the issue to one side, highlighting that there is an issue here, and our communication might be slightly changed, but we want to still bring some of that positivity to people's feeds, especially when there's so much news and scary things going on online. Sometimes you just need a little bit of joy that's at the top of your feed. So we very early on went out with a statement to basically like highlight that at the first. We didn't want to ignore the fact that this is going on, but we just wanted to put a statement out just to highlight the fact that we are aware of this, we are aware of how it's affecting everybody's lives, but we want to continue to share our good times from the past and have people excited about the good times for the future. So so with our streams, we're not quite as advanced as what Josh has got going on at Bongos Bingo, but we've kind of like pulled together our now fairly small team of people that have been working on this. Patrick Nazemi, who's one of our resident DJs who plays across all of our shows, all of our pool parties at Ibiza Rocks. He started streaming from his kitchen. And obviously there's loads of streams going out there at the moment, and it's great to see how many people are getting involved in sharing their music, whether it's bedroom DJs or whether it's stadium DJs. It's great to see how many people are doing it out there. But one of the things that we kind of felt was really important, and again, I think Josh and the Bongos team do really well, is that participation and engagement with the audience, which means it's not just watching somebody playing music, which is great. We do that all the time when we go to clubs, but having some kind of personality and engagement with people and communication with people back, from their living rooms, from their computers, from their iPhones, I think is super important. And Patrick does that really well. We have the chats on screen. He's doing shout outs with people. He's drinking a bottle of wine in his kitchen and he's having fun with it. And that's kind of, that's kind of what we want from it. It's in this period where we are longing for human contact. I think if we can get some personality through these online streams, I think that's really what people want the most, is that, that humanity, that feel of, I know that person and they're communicating with me. And I think that's what we tried to do with our kitchen live streams with Patrick. One of the other things that we've been meaning to do for years, and I think it's, I guess a lot of people are in that same situation. It's like you've got these kind of projects on the back burner that you've never had time to do, but now we have time. But we've kind of trawled through our archive footage from the last 10, 12 years at Ibiza Rocks. It's all over the place. It's on people's DVDs in their study. It's on our Google Drive. It's on YouTube, and we've had to rip it down. It's all over the place. And and I wish we had this kind of like super archive of every single show we've ever done. But we never thought this day was coming. But we've we've managed to kind of like trawl everywhere and pull everything down, and we're starting to put that out now as kind of like rewind. It's been really enjoyable for us to kind of go through some of these old live performances and share them with our audience, and all the way back to when we had kind of like guitar bands and the Libertines and Kasabian, and we're going through all of that kind of stuff all the way up to now where we're doing pool parties with Craig David and Murky Festival with Stormzy. It's been really good to kind of share those, and people have been really receptive to them.
That's amazing. And have you found any challenges or any learnings since you've got that content out? Because I imagine you're in the UK, you've got the hotel in Ibiza. I imagine your team is quite spread around. So how have you found bringing everyone together to put this content out?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of used to working remotely just for the nature of, some of us being in Ibiza, some of us being in London, being all over the place. But yeah, definitely learnings from a technical side of things. Like we'd never done streams before until last weekend. Patrick's working it out in his kitchen with software that he's never used before. We're then using other software to restream this across to other platforms. There's obviously various issues with copyright, which I feel like copyright is a challenge for streaming in general. And we're not kind of like downplaying the issue with copyright at all, but it sometimes becomes quite difficult to to go through those when you're streaming people DJing classic Ibiza tracks from the kitchen. But yeah, so for us the challenging has been is kind of like pivoting from marketing our holiday experiences to now marketing an experience that you can do online. And I guess that's kind of the take home that we have from this so far, is that as long as we can still communicate with our audience about something positive, then we can do that from Pat's kitchen, and we could do that from the Ibiza Sunset Strip. It really can be diverse in the way that we communicate with our audience. But we're just like Josh, we're learning almost every day, and today we're trying to figure out how we can have 3 of our DJs playing a set and then playing another set from somewhere else, another set from somewhere else, and how we can knit all those together. So hopefully this weekend we'll see Pat from his kitchen and then Sonny from his garden, and see how we get on with that.
Oh, that sounds cool. We'll have to tune in. I think it's interesting what you've said there. I think we are all learning as we go along, and it feels like at the moment it's fine to test and it's fine to experiment. Like there's less expectation for everything to be polished and look really great and spending 10 grand on all these different videos and streams. Like now is the time that you can actually let the shackles off, test things, get quite creative. It might look great, it might not, but I think everyone knows the situation that everyone's in. And it's a time when you haven't got to focus on sales, you haven't got to focus on targets. You can that burning idea that you've had for years to do, but maybe your director or whoever's not signed it off because we need to sell so many tickets this week. This is the time that you can actually go and do it, and actually find that quite an exciting opportunity for people to explore.
Yeah, I'm really inspired by how quickly people are turning creative things around. Like it feels like every day somebody's coming up with something new. And again, like you said, maybe 3 weeks ago we wouldn't been turning these things around quite so quickly, but now we're forced into that situation, and it's really inspiring to see everybody trying to do that, and that's one positive thing that we can bring from this.
Cool. Thanks very much for that. We're going to move over to Sophie from Facebook. So there's a lot of reports out there at the moment that Facebook is actually reporting higher usage than ever before. There's a 50% increase in total messaging as people are really turning to the platform to stay informed. And we're now in a position where the world is online. The main channel of communication, as we've seen with Bongos Bingo and Ibiza Rocks, is social media for people to actually reach their audience. And I think this has really seen a resurgence in live streaming across many platforms. And I think as I've just mentioned, it's a really creative time for brands to keep their finger on the pulse of how to get creative and what tools they should be using on different social platforms to keep their brand ahead of the curve. So I've read that Facebook is rolling out more features to make streaming easily accessible for everyone. Do you have any tips or best practices? Because I think that there'll be quite a lot of people in our stream today and our viewers who are thinking of running live streams. So if you got any tips or best practices for someone who wants to run a successful live stream?
Yeah, absolutely. And can I just say thanks for having me firstly. And, you know, there's been a couple of great examples there with Bongos Bingo and Ibiza Rocks. You guys, you know, are really rocking it. So good work sort of there. With the streaming best practices, yeah, I mean, there's a few that everyone can adhere to. You know, ultimately, everyone's going to be sort of creating their own content, and it's up to each brand to sort of decide what that looks like. But in terms of sort of just overall best practices, make it, you know, conversational, not too formal, you know, and keep the setup pretty casual as well. I think, you know, a lot of music brands on the line now, and I think, you know, ultimately that sort of lends to being more casual as well. So the majority of live content is also shot selfie style. So I think just consider at this time having direct eye contact as well. I think that's really important for just connecting with your audience. And then with sort of length of video, just aim to stream for at least 15 minutes or longer. It takes, you know, people time to sort of join, so it gives people a bit of time to sort of get on board. You know, with regards to sort of how you shoot it, just have a think about how you're going to shoot the content. Is it going to be horizontally? Is it going to be vertical? And just bear in mind that horizontal video can make it easier for people to view on things like a connected TV or laptop. So I think it's really worthwhile bearing in mind. If you are filming the live stream on your phone, just lock the focus and exposure by holding down on the screen before you begin. And then for improved audio, just consider using a wireless microphone that plugs into your phone or camera. And then, you know, Jordan sort of alluded to this earlier, but if you are adding music to your live streams, just make sure you have the rights to use the music, or that you can download and use music from the sound collection tab in Facebook Creator Studio as well, which is cleared for use in videos. Just remember, use of commercial music without proper clearances could actually result in your stream being removed. So it's really important that this is adhered to.
That's a really good point. I think often you can kind of get these streams together, you put a track on, it's the last thing you think about the copyright, but it could be a good approach to think about that first, get that cleared, because sometimes that can take longer, and then start to plan your live stream. So many businesses that are tuned in today offer offline customer experiences, but they're actually being hit the hardest at the moment. And this very much includes the entertainment industry. So do you have any insight into how those brands can best engage with their audiences right now through platforms like Facebook?
Yeah, I absolutely. I think the key thing for everyone to remember is that, you know, in the case of many of you with sort of sellout gigs, people don't, you know, haven't suddenly just stopped wanting to go to these events, and it's very much outside of people's control. And there's almost sort of an element of reminiscing from people on what could have been. You know, obviously Jordan sort of alluded to that as well for Ibiza Rocks. And another example is the glass photo hashtag that people are engaging with. I think what I would say is, first and foremost, address the concerns of rescheduling the event. You know, if that's sort of what's happened, any sort of potential refunds if that's relevant, and just make sure at all times to be upfront and completely transparent with what's going on. People completely know and understand it's not the fault of the brand or anything that's been done. So it's a conversation that you can and should have first. But once that's sort of done and your audience is comfortable with those measures, you can start thinking of, you know, new and innovative ways to pivot your companies and speak to your engaged audiences. So Sean has said, and certainly in the case of Bongos Bingo, they've already started to do this, as you've seen. So we know that the audience is there, waiting to be engaged with, and any kind of like release and reprieve people can actually get from this situation will be beneficial. You know, you'll see that, you know, through the engagement of people with Tiger King at the moment, which is like a crazy show. And I think, you know, a good example of where a brand certainly has done this well is the Royal Opera House, showing their ballets and operas every Friday. I actually saw an Australian music festival, Splendour in the Grass, this morning posting a Minecraft version of the festival. So I think actually at the moment the sky is kind of the limit.
Yeah, I love that. And we've spoke quite heavily about live stream so far, but are there any other platform features or tools or types of content that you could recommend that businesses should look out for that will help keep their brand ahead of the curve?
Yeah, I mean, I think as we've kind of all mentioned, in the case of this industry, it's safe to say that Instagram and Facebook live streaming is your best friend at the moment, because there are already artists doing live concerts from their living room. So I would pose the challenge, you know, in that, just on how people can partner with the artists who are delivering this more at home experience, on how they can sort of be a part of that messaging, you know, keeping on the vein of, I guess, continuing to engage with people, you know, just specifically looking at our solutions. We have things like playable ads, where advertisers who have made games can actually sort of advertise these and keep people entertained at the moment. Other things like AR and VR ads, you know, again, sort of a very good example of how you can take an experience of an event and make it actualized. So I think art galleries have really jumped on this opportunity, and you know, they've sort of pioneered on how it's sort of a great example on how these features can actually be used in the platform.
That's really interesting. I wasn't aware of some of them. Cool. Thanks very much, Sophie. So we're going to move on to our second section, which is all about pivoting and next steps. So this really begs the question of how do brands adapt in the coming months, but doing it in a way that has lasting impacts for the longer term. So for most countries, a lockdown is still in place for the foreseeable future, and businesses are going to need a plan to keep their audience engaged with their brand. And recent surveys have shown that consumers still want brands to be advertising. They don't want them to go completely quiet. However, the data also shows there is an expectation that customers should play their part. So 78% of consumers believe brands should help them in their daily lives in some way. So I know most of us can't all of a sudden change our operation so we can produce ventilators or masks or things to do with medical and healthcare. But one thing that people could consider is changing their daily lives through small changes in your offering. Like Bongos have now done that in people's living rooms. You can do community driven initiatives, or maybe just think of fun marketing campaigns that are just going to bring a bit of happiness and a bit of positivity to people's daily lives, which in the long run, in the business terms of things, they do actually become fans of your brand. So when you're ready to relaunch, and when that first party happens, or when business really picks up again, they're ready to purchase with you as well. So we're going to go over to Josh from Bongos Bingo. And as I've just mentioned, that the live streams have made staying in the new going out. And it was great to see you recently announced the free NHS taxi service for NHS workers. And as you mentioned, you're still reaching new audiences by partnering with channels such as Lad Bible and Unilad. So what else is in store for Bongos Bingo in the coming months?
Well, I guess our biggest skill is like entertaining, and so I think that's what we'll keep on doing most of all, really, because I think at the moment it's what people need almost as much as anything else, really. So that's our main thing really at the moment, and just doing whatever else we can for the community as well as just the NHS. So we've been working on how we might use the rest of our vehicles to like deliver food and things like that as well. But yeah, we're just doing everything we can possibly think of, really, to be honest. At the moment, we're getting a lot of people get in touch regarding sponsorships and all those kind of things, but at the moment we've kind of held off on a lot of it because we're just trying to figure out what else we can do, really. So
I guess if there's most people won't have an answer for the next few months because we don't know what's about to happen. But how important is it for you to keep building your brand and keep it front of mind and keep building more fans of Bongos Bingo who are ready to purchase tickets when normal service resumes?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's essential. I think the big thing though for us and everybody else really is a deadline. We don't have one at the moment, so it's really difficult for us to do any kind of planning on that front at the moment. We're just plodding along. You know, the guys who are running the stream are doing an incredible job, and they're just going to keep on adding to it and doing more and more, and just seeing if we can raise more and more. You know, we're in quite we're in that fortunate position where you know, we can do that, and we can reach quite big audiences who are willing to kind of contribute. And if us doing some entertainment makes them feel like they need to pay towards it, then, you know, we're just giving that straight to the NHS at the moment. So hopefully we'll get an idea of when we can do shows, and we'll just keep on doing our best to keep you know, at the forefront of people's minds, really.
And how big is that first party back going to be?
We're actually about to announce it. I don't know if we have already. I don't know if anyone might message for that. But we're
even if you can't,
yeah, all our first shows back are all going to be free shows for the NHS.
Oh, wow.
We've just confirmed Clapham, Glasgow, Newcastle, obviously Liverpool, because that's our own venue. So that's amazing. I think we're going to push that out today. And Manchester as well. Yeah, all the venues that we've been working with have been absolutely incredible at supporting us in all of this. You know, they're pushing out the stream. They're, you know, really keen on helping us generate more money for the NHS through the stream, as well as obviously doing these free shows. So yeah, real big thanks to all of those guys as well.
That's great. That's so good to see. Love
Yeah.
that. Cool. Thanks, Josh. We're going to go over to
Cheers, Sean.
From IBIZA Rock. So it's clear to see that you've already started planning for the coming months. You're offering late season deals and new flexible booking conditions to meet your audiences right now. So again, we know it's all unclear in the next few months, but what else have you got in store with IBIZA Rocks with content and other ways to keep your audience engaged?
Yeah, I mean, a lot like Josh, like it's that that's that inability to know when the deadline is, which kind of like is stopping us from doing various things. But what it means is we need to just be as flexible as we can for our customers. So we've kind of like revamped our terms, enabling people to change their dates to later in the season. There's some really great late season deals that we're doing at the moment. You know, deposits don't need to be paid until 2 weeks before we go on holiday now, which, you know, is kind of completely unusual for the travel market. So, you know, I think everybody right now just needs to be flexible because we just don't know. And if we can just be as flexible and communicate that to our audience as kind of seamlessly and honestly as possible, then, you know, that's our goal. And then from a content point of view, you know, we're just kind of, you know, I see us trying to move into being more like a broadcaster in these current, in these, you know, next 3 months, because, you know, I'm a promoter and I've put on parties for years, and, you know, that's what my job is. I program the events at IBIZA Rocks, and, you know, I deal with agents and managers and, you know, put those shows together. But I don't have that anymore. You know, I don't have parties to put on in the short to medium term. So, you know, I'm turning, you know, my skill base and other people in the organization to programming content, and you know, it's something that I'm actually really enjoying at the moment, and, you know, learning on the go. So I'm calling up agents, I'm calling up DJs that I know and saying, you know, do you want to get involved in this? You know, this is the plan for this weekend. You know, it's exciting. You know, I know we're going through something that's super scary, and it, you know, we shouldn't downplay that at all, but there is also opportunities for people that are creative to you know, engage with people and, you know, try and make their days feel a little bit better than they are. So yeah, hopefully you'll see more content from us. You know, the quality of the content, I think, will continue to improve. And, you know, just like I kind of nodded to previously, that there's, you know, lots of people are doing content, which is fantastic. But I think we need to just continue to improve the quality of that content for our audience. We're starting to lean on partners. One of our partners, which has been for the last couple of years, is a really innovative company called Melody VR, who film shows in 360 degrees, and they broadcast them through their app in VR, which you know, which is fantastic. But now that becomes potentially even more important than ever before. So we're partnering with them on some new initiatives, and effectively just trying to continue to engage with the talent that we work with, so that they can still reach the audiences that they would have been reaching, you know, with our shows. You know, trying to help amplify their positions, because there's lots of talent, lots of DJs that are going without shows at the moment. So if there's any way that we can help amplify their their social footprint, then that's what we want to try and do as well. But yeah, just each day is slightly different, and at the moment we're kind of planning for the weekend like we would plan for a weekend show. And I'm sure Josh has the same feeling, but it's like there's all of that kind of apprehension about putting together a live stream. Once it's all technically working, then you're worried if anyone's going to turn up for your party, and then people turn up for your party and start communicating and enjoying it, and you get that get really a similar feeling to how it is when you're throwing a party and people are having fun. Now they're just doing it online. So I guess as a promoter and an event organizer, you're kind of taking that as a small win.
Yeah, I like that. That's really cool. Cool. Thanks, Jordan. I'm going to go over to Sophie from Facebook. So for businesses to keep on dancing, to take it back to the title, I think having a proactive strategy that focuses on the path to recovery is a really hot topic right now. And I found it really interesting that Facebook usage is up. However, advertising spend has naturally declined during uncertain times, which actually means less competition for ad space and potential for better return on ad spend. So this does lead to a conclusion that now is the time to build your brand through engagement and awareness. And it's an interesting thought that performance marketing, so more of the direct response ads that people may have been running, are going to show signs of fatigue at the moment. But this is the opportunity to invest in your brand and really keep your brand top of mind and leverage towards that industry recovery afterwards. So how does Facebook advise businesses to adapt in the short term with those lasting impacts in the longer term?
Yeah, I think I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head with your comments there. I actually saw from a recent study from Kantar this morning that says that 24% of brands have paused all ad spend ahead of Q2. It's understandably such a difficult time for advertisers to have a gauge on how their audience is feeling and how they should speak to that. And I think it's really important that brands are extremely mindful of this. Another study done by Millward Brown in 2008, during the last recession, it just shared evidence that 60% of the brands that went dark during an economic downturn saw brand use decrease 24% and brand image decrease 28%. So brands that actually cut their ad budget at a higher rate relative to their competitors were actually at greater risk of share loss. So, sort of taking that and looking at another 2001 analysis from, Malik PIMS, showed that an increase in spend on marketing and R&D was associated with business success during downturns. So Kantar actually currently estimates that brands who go dark to save costs will see a 39% reduction in brand awareness and delay recovery after coronavirus. So, I think to that, just first and foremost, the communication channels between brands and their customers should stay open, just to ensure that those long-term effects aren't felt.
That's really interesting. There's quite a lot of data coming out on that at the moment. Okay, thanks Sophie. We're going to move on to the final section now, where we can talk about everyone's key learnings and takeaways from recent weeks. So I'm going to start with Josh from Bongos Bingo. Josh, I think your whole team was really quick to react with ideas of how to engage with people at home. But I imagine there was many challenges that came with that, with teams working remotely and thinking of new ideas in a short space of time. So what have been your most valuable takeaways and learnings from recent weeks?
I guess some of the partnerships that we've developed have been really good, like the one with Lad Bible and Unilad and stuff like that. They really love the show, and so they decided to share it with a lot more people than we were able to. So that was really good. Also, remote working isn't actually that bad. It's a bit difficult, like working at home all day long, but people are actually working really quite quickly on some of these things, and we're actually quite well connected just using technology. That's one of the big things that we've all picked up, to be honest.
Mm.
So yeah, I think there's fair few kind of benefits, although it's there's a lot of doom and gloom obviously as well. And I think one big thing for us is the kind of appreciation we'll definitely be having, you know, as soon as things do get back to normal, and we won't be taking things for granted anywhere near as much, you know. So they're our main things, I guess.
I've found the same. I think the first week of working from home was adjusting and getting used to different things, but I've actually found different pros and cons. And I guess the con is that you haven't got people next to you to help problem solve, but the pros actually got a lot of time to think, if that makes sense. I feel like I've really had time
Absolutely.
to evaluate and analyze, and I've really got quite a clear point of view on different things at the moment. So there's definitely two sides to each story, I guess. But thanks for that, Josh.
Cheers, John.
We're going to go over to Jordan now from Ibiza Rock. So I think one of my main takeaways just from seeing how you guys have approached your reaction to this is that a really positive, honest and transparent approach to your messaging has been really successful. So have you got any advice on the tone that people should take when speaking to their audience during uncertain times? And I guess there's the idea that there's an elephant in the room, but there doesn't have to be. Like, we all know what's going on, and it's about just actually addressing that face on.
Yeah, I guess I spoke about it a little bit earlier on, but the first post that we did, you know, a couple of weeks ago now was highlighting that, you know, clearly there's, you know, something that's bigger than all of us going on right now, but the way that we communicate with our audience isn't going to change too much. You know, we're still going to bring good energy, good vibes. You know, we're going to throw back to the, you know, the good times, and we're going to encourage people to be excited about the good times to come. So you know, I think what we've all kind of learned, you know, from, you know, listening to Josh, you know, and others, is that, you know, I think it's just about honesty right now. And if everybody's honest about the way that they're communicating with their audience, then, you know, that's human and that's real. So, you know, we can be as transparent and as honest as possible, whilst, you know, remaining flexible as possible as well, to make sure that, you know, our customers are getting all of the communication that they need. So yeah, from my side of things, and you know, and the teams that we have that push out our social media, the tone is still very similar to how it was before. But you know, we're still addressing that people are in a slightly different situation than they were.
And what have been your most valuable takeaways and learnings from still keeping your team together, still keeping that creative flow going, and not letting the aspect of things get in the way?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's really interesting because there's all this technology, and a lot of it is just always been there, but none of us have really been using it as well as we could have. So I guess, you know, some of the take home that we've got is that there's technology out there that helps this remote working scenario better than we ever thought. So one of the things that we do is we have an open channel on Google Hangouts at all times. So, you know, effectively, you know, that we're not setting up a new meeting, you know, every time we want to speak. It's just there. We just click the button and we're there to chat. You know, somebody came up with that in our office, and it seems to be working pretty well. You know, I think, you know, still having a similar routine as possible just helps with your mental state. You know, like, I'm in a 1-bedroom flat in North London, and me and my girlfriend have a cup of tea in the morning, and then we say goodbye and we go to work. She stays in the living room and I go in the bedroom. It's, you know, there's some parts that just become like the new norm. And, you know, I feel like this week has felt like that, like there's some kind of new normal that is emerging. And, you know, I think that people are becoming really positive in the way that they're addressing that. So, you know, having some routine, you know, checking in with your team and speaking as often as possible, you know, and that's how I'm personally dealing with it.
Yeah, I quite like that business as usual approach. Like, I'm the same. I'll get up, get dressed, put my makeup on, still treat it as a normal day, as it would be any other way. And from our side as well, we've been trying to, because a lot of what we did beforehand was workshops, and it was like everyone in one room getting really creative. And we've just tried to we're now working on online workshops and ways that we're still coming up with the same ideas, just look at our sticky notes out and all of our creative ways of doing things, but it can still be done online. And I think that's an important takeaway for people, to not feel like they can't be creative and not let that get in the way of coming up with some amazing campaigns, because it's clear to see that brands are still doing it no matter where you're working from. I've seen so many cool campaigns and some creative things in the past few weeks. So it's a good
One of the things that I've noticed as well is like the collaborative effort between people. Like there feels like there's less kind of like red tape right now. So you know, in a past when it'd be like, you know, I need to sign an NDA for this, or you know, I'm not sure whether I want to, you know, work with this person. Now it's just like we're in a completely new world right now. So you know, getting heads together, getting minds together for community projects, you know, I think that's really inspiring. And you know, there's a few things that I've been involved in recently that, you know, we would have to sign a contract before we even discuss that. But you know, right now it's, you know, it's for the greater good, and we keep plodding on, you know.
Yeah, you're so right. And one thing, and it was kind of the inspiration of this current series for Business Keeps on Dancing, is that I've just never seen such a sense of community between different promoters, all kind of helping each other, and brands with customers and customers with brands. It just feels like everyone's kind of in this together at the moment. And again, as I said before, it's like the shackles are kind of off. You can kind of break those walls down, and we can all actually help each other out, which I think is a really nice touch. Cool. Thanks, Jordan. We're going to move over to Sophie now. So Sophie, you've been helping a load of businesses from all sorts of different industries across the UK and Ireland, and you're helping them with ways to move forward through platforms such as Facebook and Instagram. So what I'd be really keen to know is what have been your most valuable takeaways and learnings from recent weeks across all different types of industries?
Yeah, I think my main takeaway is you can make assumptions about how the impact that this is going to have on certain industries and advertisers, but actually what I've seen is that the impact is very specific and very granular for every single advertiser. Every single product pretty much is just responding differently at the moment. And I think, you know, at this point, everyone just really needs to remain true to their brand at the moment. So in particular, brands, you know, as Josh and Jordan both mentioned, brands that have remained honest and transparent are the ones that people are really sort of gravitating around at the moment, which I think is really significant. And then probably, you know, another recommendation, you know, in terms of what I've seen is, you know, people that are seeing the best amount of success at the moment are the ones that are completely agile and open to new ideas. You know, it's the one like IBIZA Rocks and Bongos Bingo that have acted so quickly with their own strategies to entertain their audiences that are really seeing sort of great success come out of this. And remember that success won't necessarily be a volume of ticket sales right now, but when we sort of all, you know, come out the other side of this, your engagement with people at this time will be proven through, you know, subsequent ticket sales sort of next year, the year after, you know.
Exactly. And can you share any of the best examples that you've seen, or any case studies that you're able to share with our viewers today of any campaigns that have engaged with audiences particularly well? Maybe that's through live streams or community Facebook groups or social advertising campaigns. Is there anything that you could share with us today?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, the two examples from Josh and Jordan here are, you know, fantastic. I just think they're really sort of best in class. Again, the Royal Opera House example I mentioned earlier, you know, is an important and significant way about how brands have really done live streaming. As well, I mentioned earlier that personalities have really honed in on this situation. So I'd encourage brands to work alongside these partners. So, for example, like Frank Turner's done a couple of excellent fundraisers recently. Apparently, Wear Cape Fly did a playthrough of Chronicles in full for a local charity. And then outside of this, Yonica has been streaming her yoga class and been doing some Q&As alongside this. And then, you know, obviously my personal favorite is Patrick Stewart's been reading Shakespeare on Twitter. And I think, you know, this is an excellent opportunity for brands, and everyone's sort of doing it really differently. So it's really nice to see, I think, innovation on the platform at this time.
Cool. Thanks for sharing those examples. To finish off the session today, we're going to jump to our Q&A from some of the questions that we've had in from the people who signed up today. So thanks for staying with us as well today. I've really enjoyed speaking to our panelists, and I hope you have too. So one of the questions we did have, I think, has already been answered around what things to consider when live streaming within the Facebook platform. If we were to run a live streaming event with our community, that one was from Mark, but I think Sophie answered that really well. earlier on. So the next question we've got is, can you post any content without acknowledging the situation? And I think I'm going to take this answer. So I think it's a good question, and I think it's what's been on everyone's mind in the past few weeks. Like, how do you address it in the right way? And I think as Jordan spoke about quite well earlier on, it's about being honest and really addressing if there is something that you need to speak to your customers about, just really tackling that on the head in the most positive, honest and transparent way. And I think once you've done that in the right way, you're then free to get really creative and try and make a positive impact on your audience's lives. As we mentioned before, that the survey from Kantar said that 78% of consumers are expecting brands to change their lives in some way. And if you can't go away and build ventilators, how else can you actually help people in this moment? So although the situation is relating to quite a serious crisis, another situation is that people are at home, they can't go out and socialize, and people can get lonely and can get quite can sometimes get in a bad place if they're just stuck in a house on their own. So what you can actually do as a brand through your content is be shouting about really positive things, really align what you think your brand values are to what other customers can connect to, and just bring a bit of happiness to their day-to-day lives, I guess. So I think you can definitely acknowledge the situation, because you can't avoid what's going on at the moment, but I think you can layer that on top with some really positive content and make a positive contribution to people's lives in that way. We've got another question from Kieran, and this question is, what's the most effective way to generate a unique audience without spending a fortune or being too spammy? And I think this is a really good question. I'm going to see if Josh from Bongos Bingo can help us answer this one, because I think most businesses and brands are facing the same problem. The world is online, there's a lot of opportunity, but budgets have been cut and people can't spend a lot of money on these amazing videos. So how can people be quite resourceful to generate their audience engagement? Josh, I think you're on mute, or you're...
Yeah, I think in terms of creating quite a big audience and stuff, I guess you need to be quite unique, really. Obviously there are some kind of copycats of what we do, but generally we're kind of seen as I guess the leader in like bingo, rave, party, socializing, you know, the new form of bingo, I guess. So if you can do something that's unique and interesting, I would say that's probably the best. Obviously, just try and use a lot of creativity, I guess, and give things a go. Lean on your friends and family for help on the tech side and other ideas, and just give it a go. I think that's probably the best way. I mean, we just tried it 2 weeks ago today, I think was the first one, just to our staff, and they all said that's brilliant, so go with it. And we just went live within 30 minutes. So sorry, I'm just getting a call off my dad. So yeah, I think just try and be as unique as possible and use as much creativity as you can. If just replicating what everybody else is doing or what anybody else is doing isn't going to get you the audience that you want.
Cool. Thanks for that, Josh. Next question. We're going to ask this one to Jordan. So what's the best way to get customers to continue supporting us while closed? And this is from Esme, who is from a wellbeing events venue and charity. And I think that the comparisons we can draw with Ibiza Rocks is obviously until the Ibiza season is in full swing, hopefully later in the summer, you're not actually open for anything for your customers right now. But have you got any insight of how you've kept your audience really supporting the Ibiza Rocks brand in recent weeks?
Yeah, I mean, from a travel point of view, you know, I think the best way that we can kind of encourage our audience to support us right now is to not take their refund. You know, and I know that's probably something that, you know, lots of people are in various kind of like financial difficulties. But if people are willing to switch to another date, whether it be later in the season or whether it be next year, you know, I think that's the best way of people supporting their, you know, their local promoter with you know, they might have a £5 ticket for a Thursday night this week that they could ask for a refund on, or they could just defer that until October. You know, the same is for hotels, venues, and travel companies. Like if you trust that brand well enough, then you could trust them on keeping your holiday and just deferring it to another period. Having said that, you know, it's up to us as a brand to encourage people and sometimes incentivize people to do so. So for us, example, if you switch your date out of a period that is you know, out of action for now, then we'll be giving people €50 to spend at the bar or on food to switch. So, you know, I think that's a way that people can support, and I think it's worth people looking into that as an option before they do ask for a refund. Is, you know, can I just change my date, but can I be incentivized for that?
And Sophie, I was wondering if you've got any insight on charities and how they've been trying to use Facebook and different features to keep people engaged. Because I think you did send an update this week about that. If you've got any more insight on charities.
Yeah, I think, you know, in terms of sharing just charities in general, there's a lot of sort of charity-based best practice, as well as, you know, Facebook and Instagram live best practice, IGTV, Facebook Watch, what have you. I'm going to put it up on my LinkedIn after this, so you can just jump in and get the guide. But I think just, you know, ultimately, just make sure that, you know, you're set up for success. You've got all the functionality there to be able to sort of get the donations from people. I think that's really important.
Cool, thanks, Sophie. And I've got one last question for you as well. So Jeff has asked, do you have any solid tips on how to engage and manage a community online?
Yeah, so we are sort of saying there's 5 ways at the moment that people can engage with and manage their community online. The first is, you know, engaging, because we know that it sparks authentic shares and back and forth discussion in the comments. So the way that you could do this potentially is respond to comments on your post to show people that you're there for them. It can give, you know, your community a real sense of connection during this time. You can also comment on other people's content, so more people can interact and get inspired to join the conversation. And you can call on established friends or related accounts to help spread accurate information and positivity. So the next point, the second point, is around relevancy. So making sure that you capture people's attention and it's actually relevant to the topics that they're seeking out. So an example is using hashtags in your feed and stories to sort of get that really relevant attention. The third point is around originality. Making sure that the content that you use is unique and original and it's created by you. So avoid posting duplicative content from others where you have no sort of meaningful role in creating. The fourth point is around consistency. You know, we've already mentioned this in a bit of detail, but it's around building trust and guiding your community to regularly return to your page. And then sort of the fifth example is retentive. So making sure that, you know, when you've got people's attention, that you know how to continue on to entertain them. So this can look like high quality and 3+ minute videos, for example, and, you know, creating long form videos for IGTV or on Facebook, which may then qualify for Facebook Watch as well. So those 5 sort of principles I'd really recommend brands adhere to at this time.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sophie. That's all of the questions from our Q&A session. And that's a wrap for today. So thank you to everyone who's joined us. I hope you've enjoyed our first webinar. I've had a great time. And thank you for submitting your questions as well. Unfortunately, we couldn't answer them all today within our time limit, but there were some really great questions that we didn't have time to put to the panel. So we're going to have an option to send questions in each week. Please get in touch with us, DM us. If you've got any extra questions, and we can have a chat, but yeah, keep them coming. And then more details on next week's panel will be announced tomorrow, so stay tuned. We should have some more exciting speakers and another topic to announce. And if you want to keep up to date, follow us on Instagram at Business Keeps on Dancing, and then you can sign up on our website at businesskeepsondancing.com. So thanks, and we'll see you every Thursday at 1 p.m. Bye.